Molo Sanbonani, hello, how's it? Good morning, good morning, good morning. As an old friend of mine used to say, we are Tuesday people, yeah, bo. Welcome to the Tuesday broadcast of Vuka Nazo, your morning news analysis show. My name is Sihle Ngobese, aka Big Daddy Liberty. Now remember, if you're watching this show, all you need to do, your only price of admission, is to hit that like button. Do it now, whether you're watching the simulcast on Facebook or on YouTube. If it is YouTube, then please consider subscribing to the channel and hit that bell notification. Help me reach my goal of 50,000 subscribers by the end of the year. Guys, remember, you can support the work that I do financially. Anything between 50 to 100 Rand a month. 75 Rand is about the average that we do per person per month. And you can find a payment method that suits you on our website at bigdaddyliberty.com. Now, with that jibber jabber out the way, and I saw that comment about having that expression on a t-shirt, I might consider that when we launch our merch. But indeed, with that jibber jabber out the way, let's get straight into the news. All right, we begin here this morning. A story that I've been holding back on for a bit because I was waiting for the Deputy Minister of Home Affairs, that's Unjabulo Nzuza, to actually respond to the allegations. And what are these allegations? Well, Nzuza, that is, stands accused of being involved in a rape and kidnapping matter, the circumstances of which are very mysterious. Now, here's the thing. Here's what I really got annoyed by the story, aside from the fact that it involves rape, a heinous crime, and indeed kidnapping, which is on the rise as a crime category in this country. Here's what is the kicker for me. The allegations in this instance involve a deputy minister within Cyril Ramaphosa's cabinet. Now, the fact that we just went through a cabinet reshuffle where there were winners and losers, it beggars belief that a minister, or rather a deputy minister, accused of such serious crimes was retained in the cabinet of Cyril Ramaphosa. What the hell is Cyril Ramaphosa smoking? I will keep asking that whenever an asinine decision it revolves around him. Nonetheless, Nzuza facing these allegations according to an independent piece. It was in Sunday Independent about a week or so ago, detailing the story as follows. Now, Deputy Home Affairs Minister Unjabulo Nzuza stands accused of allegedly kidnapping and raping a woman at his state house in Kenilworth, Cape Town. This is, of course, an incident happening in December last year. This is where it gets really disgusting to me. Aside from the overall allegations, the piece continues to say that in addition, he's further accused of then paying the two victims' friends 150,000 Rand for their silence. The woman, only identified as Ntombi in two internal police reports seen by the Sunday Independent, has been missing since the night of the alleged kidnapping on December 14, 2022, and no missing person report has been filed so far, according to police. End of quote. Now, again, there's more to this. There's allegations, of course, that not only did Nzuza allegedly then pay off the two witnesses who are friends of the individual who's said to being kidnapped and raped 150,000 Rand. He also proceeded to ask his protectors, allegedly 4 bodyguards, to prevent police from entering this house in Kenilworth in order to do a preliminary investigation. This, of course, are all the allegations made in this particular piece. Now, this independent piece continues to cite how a particular police officer, Lieutenant Colonel Lawrence from the Claremont police station in Cape Town, looked into the matter, and he was the one allegedly denied access to the residence by the minister's bodyguards, by the deputy minister's bodyguards, upon the instruction of the deputy minister. All of this are allegations, of course, but the piece nonetheless goes on to say, now, an internal police report obtained by the paper this week reveals that Lieutenant Colonel Lawrence from Claremont Police Station went to Nzuza's official residence after he received a phone call from a woman who claimed she had been kidnapped and raped. Lawrence traced her location to Nzuza, but on arrival, the deputy minister's bodyguards refused to open the gate for him. Lawrence was then forced to call backup, and the bodyguards were finally forced to open the gate. Now, the story gets even weirder and even scarier. It reads on. Now, 2 ladies were found at the premises. They claimed there were 3 of them and visited the brother of the Deputy Minister of Home Affairs the previous evening. Now, the 3rd lady, is apparently missing and in need of help, and hence the ladies had refused to leave the premises. Now, reading this, it reads like a crime novel, something like a Daniel Steele crime novel or Inspector Cousteau type situation. And you have to sort of remind yourself that you're reading about something that allegedly involves a deputy minister who sits in the cabinet of Cyril Ramaphosa, the same deputy minister who survives clearly the chop, even though these allegations are seemingly circulating around him. It also rings as funny how the article, this independent piece, cites how these bodyguards or protectors, as they're actually called, who had initially refused allegedly police officers' entry into the premises, Unzuza, that's the deputy minister, allegedly fired those bodyguards, accusing them of misdemeanors, including stealing from his house. So those same bodyguards, also this piece alleged, also now coming to the paper and verifying these claims. Now, here's the thing. Like all good journalistic practice, you've got to give the individual accused of something right of reply. This is why I take you now to this Times Live piece, which basically gives the minister's account of things, and he's not backing down. He's calling these accusations absolute nonsense and poppycock, and that he's taking legal action, or rather looking to take legal action against the paper. Now, here's the thing. I'd love to hear him actually speak to these allegations directly, because there seems to be a lot of detail here in that independent piece that he just skirts over. But nonetheless, these are the comments by Unzuza, the Deputy Minister of Home Affairs, responding to the allegations. Now, Unzuza accused the publication of deliberately concocting a, quote, false narrative to tarnish his good name and reputation. He goes on to say, at no point on the day in question or any other day in the account of the police was I accused of rape or kidnapping. These frivolous allegations are not backed up by any form of evidence, he says. And this is where Unzuza says he would be seeking legal advice on how to best deal with the unfounded allegations, end of quote. Now, again, I take the time to go over the story because I needed to remind you that this cabinet, especially after that cabinet reshuffle, I told you that that cabinet reshuffle wasn't actually one meant to serve you as the public. It was a cabinet reshuffle aimed at propping up politicians and the political elites, rewarding those who had supported Cyril Ramaphosa and shunning those that hadn't. It had nothing to do with actually improving service delivery or getting things done, because if it did, characters like these, for instance, facing these sort of accusations, I mean, just the nature of them, and I'm mindful of the fact that these are just allegations, and everybody has the presumption of innocence until proven guilty. But nonetheless, in a political environment like ours, with a gender-based violence crime rate like ours, I would have expected a good leader, something Cyril Ramaphosa clearly isn't, to have removed a character like this one. But here he is in Cyril's cabinet. All right, good news, good news, good news. I think I'm going to balance the news today with something good and something bad. You'll know, of course, we covered the issue of the labor strike. That's the NEHAWU. That is, of course, the NEHAWU strike. NEHAWU being a trade union under COSATU, which is affiliated with the ANC. The National Education, Health and Allied Workers Unions had embarked on a campaign of a rampage and wanton destruction last week. Indeed, the health minister, Joe Pakla, indicating that 4 people had lost their lives due allegedly to the actions of the strikers. 4 human beings, 4 South Africans losing their lives at the hands of these violent strikers. People who, as I mentioned last week, the moment someone feels they're entitled to something, everything else falls out the window. All sense of right and wrong falls out the window. All sense of morality falls out the window. And indeed, that's how these NEHAWU strikers have been acting. Indeed, led by their union bosses who, as I said, because NEHAWU is affiliated with the ANC, quite a few of those union bosses are basically trying to build a name for themselves politically, and they use strikes like these to do exactly that. And consequently, the behavior of those who are striking never falls under scrutiny. Let me remind you of exactly what I'm talking about, where the previous week we saw a wanton campaign of intimidating staff, assaulting fellow health workers, and indeed even singing abhorrent songs like the Dubuli Bunu or Kill the Boer song. Have a look at this. Yeah, I had to remind you of just how wild and violent that is. And again, it doesn't end there. As I mentioned, the Health Minister Joe Phaahla saying 4 people had effectively died, allegedly at the hands of these workers, or at least the conduct and the actions of these workers, which included kicking patients out of hospital. You remember that video clip I played of the workers allegedly doing exactly that at Addington Hospital in Durban, and of course in Stanger, KwaDukuza, where at a hospital there, workers violently assaulted paramedics who were bringing a young child who was on life support into a hospital, not only impeding the ambulance for a while, but also with a panga attacking the healthcare workers and ripping the child out of the ambulance. These workers have gone too far, and they know that. Their actions have been absolutely appalling and disgusting and needed to be condemned with everything that we have as South Africans. This is not the behavior of people who live in a sane, sober, moral, and prudent type country. These are thugs, and they must be condemned with the vehemence that that condemnation deserves. But nonetheless, the courts have come into the fray this time, basically saying enough with the violence, enough with the thuggery. Let me read from this EWN piece, where the latest is the Labour Court of Appeal of South Africa has interdicted strike action by members of the National Education, Health and Allied Workers Union after its members stayed away from their posts. The judgment handed down yesterday said that the employees were restrained and prevented from continuing with any of the industrial action. End of quote. A absolutely fantastic judgment in this regard, and really it's a judgment that protects the public against these thugs. And one would hope that these union bosses with their members can now go back and actually look at what they've done and realize that they've left a bloody trail, one which they must be held accountable for. All right, that's it for this episode of Vuka Nazo. I did say I'll give you the good and the bad. Shout out to the Labour Court again for protecting South Africans. Let's have more state institutions do exactly that. But nonetheless, hope you enjoyed this content. Let me know what you think, of course, of this video. You can do that by dropping a comment. I do go through the comments and do respond to most of them. So please drop me a comment. And remember, as you exit this video, guys, hit that like button, please. Help me grow my engagement on the show, and of course share the stream. With that being said, a reminder that you can find us on our website at bigdaddyliberty.com. Please keep an eye on that website. Our campaigns and where we'll be as a show as we look to travel around the country will be on there. Right, with that being said, I'll see you tomorrow bright and early for another episode of Vuka Nazo.